visual aids effectively. And the title of my speech is You Are Not the Father.
Oh.
All right. And it's a 5 to 7 minute prepared speech.
All right. So everybody, is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Do you have anything special you want us to listen out for tonight?
The baby.
Just that I use my visual aids effectively, and hopefully you all are entertained.
Yeah, I already.
Entertained.
All right. Get ready.
Show me the
Yes.
baby.
All right. Everyone, give Terica Watkins a round of applause.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. You are not the father. Many of us have heard of the Maury Show, known for its shocking paternity tests, wild DNA results, and ultimately ratchetness at its best. Many of us have also heard of the phrase, "You are not the father," which has become famous for the distressed mother running off stage, crying hysterically, wondering why she's being punished because she can't find her child's father. In addition, the phrase "you are not the father" has also become famous too with the buffoonery of the father as well. You know that father, the one that hears the results, "You are not the father." They start dancing uncontrollably like that, just evading responsibility. And they also go out in the audience and give people a high five. High five, high five, high five, high five. But have you ever wondered what it's like if you were actually told that you are not, if you were told those words, "You are not the father," and you didn't have the antics and the theatrical performances? I know from firsthand experience that I was uttered those 5 dreadful words. Today, I will relive with you all my own personal Maury episode, Terica, He Is Not the Father. I first found out who I thought was my biological father when I was 25 years old. I found his aunt on Facebook, and I reached out to her. I was really hesitant to reach out to her because I didn't want her to think that I was some gold digger trying to scam her or break up their family. But I still gathered up the courage to message her. I told her who I was and told her who my biological mother was. And then I also told her too of my intentions, that I wanted to meet my father before I moved away. She responded the next day, and it was the total opposite of what I had expected. She welcomed me with open arms, and she communicated the message to my father. And a couple of days later, he reached out to me, and we decided to meet for the first time that following weekend. So the weekend came. I was anxious, but I was also excited at the same time. That day finally came. We met at the location, and for the first time, we embraced each other as father and daughter. After we had our little Disney Hallmark moment, we then transitioned to the real story. There's always 2 sides of the story, and in this case, this was nothing different. He told me of the nature of his relationship with my biological mother, and of course it was different from what she had explained to me. And I knew that in order for our relationship to further progress, we would need to conduct this in an assiduous manner and find the truth. So we then decided that following week to take a DNA test, the swab. That following week, we took the DNA test, and you have to normally wait about a week to get the results. I remember that being the most agonizing week of my life to wait for something you desperately want. But it passed. I got the phone call that the results were ready for me to pick up. I remember I was driving like crazy to get there as soon as possible. And when I entered the office and picked up the paper from the proctor, I looked at it and it confirmed that Terica, he is not the father. I remember everything became a blur to me, as if I was in a dream and I was no longer in reality. And I also remember too that I underwent the roller coaster of emotions. First, I went through the emotion of denial. Denial because I couldn't believe that these results were true and I didn't want them to be true. Then I went through the emotion of shock. Shock because I hadn't mentally prepared myself for the worst and it hadn't fully sinked into my mind to comprehend just yet. And then I experienced the emotion of anger. I was angry because I felt that once again, I let my biological mother into my life and she disappoints me by deliberately lying to me about who my father was. And then overall, I just became so distraught.
Oh.
I cried and I wept like a baby that day. And I was so distraught about what happened that I remember the security guard found me and he had advised for me not to drive because I was not in the best mental state to be on the road with other drivers. And overall, all of these emotions messed up together turned into a temporary period of grief. I grieved because this was something that I truly wanted and something that I had truly desired to have for so many years. But we both decided to retake the test again, but this time the blood test. We waited again. The results came back within a week. It confirmed again, Terica, he is not the father. Despite the DNA results, we both decided that in our heart, he was my father and I was his daughter. In conclusion, one of my favorite movies, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, quotes that you can be mad as a dog at the way things went. You could swear and curse the fate, but when it comes to the end, you have to let go. So even though I didn't end up with my biological father, in the end, I still ended up with a man to this day who still claims me as his child, and I was embraced by his family with open arms.
Whoa.
I return control to